Want your kids to pick up after themselves? Kids are messy. I mean, is there a different word I can use? Because I'm pretty sure messy does not even begin to describe what we're actually up against. But on top of that, there are so many new skills and habits that our child needs to learn. So no wonder some parents just decide to give up altogether and just pick up after their kid instead of trying to tackle this monster, right? Hey, I'm Cassie from Custom Built Parenthood. First of all, quick shout out to my 200 subscribers. You guys, are you for real? I am just so humbled and grateful. I just love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I am so excited to just keep talking about what I love talking about, which is parenting. So, where were we? Today we were talking about messes. So, I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. You can probably imagine how much my 2-year-old picks up after himself, so let's focus a little bit more on my older 2 children and where they're at right now. So on a daily basis, they bring their dishes to the counter after eating, they make their beds every morning, they put their dirty clothes in the hamper, they usually clean up their quiet time mess. That's the time in the afternoon where they'll get some toys out and play for just like an hour or two by themselves. So they'll usually bring that mess, take care of that mess. Afterwards, they each get one level of our house completely picked up. So they're each assigned a level downstairs or upstairs, and they'll take care of that level, getting it all picked up. And every day they do a chore. Now for some things that they don't do. They don't usually put their toothbrushes or toothpaste away or leave the sink looking clean at all. They don't park their bikes or their outdoor toys in their homes. They don't typically put their shoes in their cubbies that they're supposed to go in or hang their jackets or coats. They don't usually pick up toys after they use them, and basically they just pretty much don't put things away in general after using them. So you might be wondering right about now what the explanation is for why they're doing great on certain things and not so great in others. Or you might be hearing that first list wondering why my kid is putting their dishes away and not yours. So the only reason is that I'm on top of my game with those first things. I've done the work up front to make a plan and have continued to follow through consistently. They bring their dishes to the counter after eating because I am always around during food times to remind them if they forget. They make their beds every morning because that's a part of their high fives, which is something I enforce every single day. They put their dirty clothes in the hamper because I spent a few weeks, a while back, teaching them and enforcing this, just reminding every time. So now it's pretty ingrained. They clean up their quiet time mess because they know that kids who clean up their quiet time mess get to pick a cartoon after. They do their daily pickup and a job every day because I have established a chore system and they're motivated to earn the reward that's associated with that. So basically they're good at doing those things because I've implemented systems, routines, and rules that help them succeed and help me succeed, like helping us all succeed. So as for the second group of things, I simply just haven't put in the work yet, and that's what makes the difference. So are you starting to get the direction of where this video is going? You might be feeling a little frustrated with me for putting this on you. If you're anything like me, you just want your kids to pick up after themselves, but you probably feel really tired of how much work it is for you to make that happen. We don't want to have to deal with the battle, right? It's so much more work to insist that our kids do it themselves than it is for us to just do it for them most of the time. It is a lot of work to fight and argue about why the rule is there, or to give them a huge lecture about all that we do for them and convince them why they need to be a contributing member of the family. Surely they should just be able to be doing it on their own by now, right? Okay, well, I hear you. I totally hear you. And let's just try to not get too worked up about it though. And just remember our goal. So the goal is that eventually they will truly be able to pick up after themselves. So keep that goal in mind. The first thing I had to do to finally start making some headway toward this goal was to take responsibility for my role in this whole equation. So as much as I sometimes would love for my children to act like adults, they are not. So I had to remind myself that it actually is my job to teach and enforce everything that I'm wanting my kids to do. And I get it. That is a huge job. It can be super overwhelming, and that's why it's so important that we work on one thing at a time. It is awfully tempting, for me anyway, to try to take on everything all at once. My typical pattern is I get to the point where messes are piling up, I feel like no one's willing to help me, and I pretty much just snap and feel like I need to conquer everything right then and there. I want to tackle every single problem and get life on track all right now. So obviously, this can't really be done, right? Not just because it's too overwhelming for me, but it's actually too overwhelming for my kids as well. So teaching kids to pick up after themselves encompasses a lot of daily and weekly habits and skills, which are going to take time to develop. So I start by picking my very top complaint and start working on a plan. So let's say it's driving me absolutely crazy that my kids won't put their toothbrush and toothpaste away. In my mind, I have two options. I can either make sure that I'm present every time that they're brushing their teeth so that I can remind them to put it away and just really ingrain the habit, or I can have a bathroom sweep built into our daily or weekly routine, at which point they're expected to take care of anything in the bathroom that's theirs. So both approaches work. It really is just up to me how I want to go about it. The key is, in order for either of these to work, it's gonna have to be sustainable. Consistency is key for any approach to be effective. So pick the option that you're most likely to be able to follow through every single time. This is the exact reason why we only want to take on one thing at a time, because we only have so much bandwidth, right? So toothbrushes are a tiny example, right? But as we get into more involved tasks, it becomes really relevant to have realistic expectations. So in my mind, I've stopped using the term age-appropriate expectations, which is probably like the politically correct way of saying things. It's just the idea that at every age, your child should be capable of X, Y, and Z. So certain skills, certain level of understanding, or certain competencies, whatever. So this idea stresses me out because, first of all, I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way, and I get worried about it being the wrong way. And second of all, I just find myself comparing myself and my kids to other parents and their kids. Now, you have already heard my thoughts on comparing. Basically, I'm not a fan. So what I like to do instead is just see my kid for who they are and just where they're at. So let's say every time I ask my kid to clean up their room, they have a total and complete meltdown. So it's probably safe to say that this task is beyond their capacity in that moment. So it could be for a number of reasons. It could be their age. That task is simply just beyond their abilities. It'd be like me asking my 2-year-old, hey, can you unload the dishwasher, please? Like, obviously they just can't do that yet. So it could be that situation with your child in their room. They just aren't ready to handle that yet. Or it could be that I've never taught them how to do a task. So even if most kids their age can, if I've never taught them or shown them how to do that, they won't know how to do it. Or the third option is it could just be a really bad time. So maybe I'm asking them to do it right after school and emotions are high. They've had a hard day, like emotionally, it's just a bad time. So none of those three reasons mean that I should give up and just do it for them. It just means that I need to have some patience and just realize that it's my role to troubleshoot the situation and figure out what my kid needs in order to increase their capacity so that they can accomplish this task. So just like we couldn't throw our kid into the deep end of the pool and expect them to just swim, we can't throw them into a task until they're ready. So our kid either needs a life jacket or some swimming lessons, right, to be okay in that pool. So when it comes to their room, they might need help from you. So you might need to just sit there with them and help them and work on that with them, kind of talking them through it. Or you might need to kind of take it down into a smaller task. So instead of picking up their entire room, you're gonna ask them to maybe pick up 10 things, let's say. Or you might need to find a different time. So just revisit it at a different point in the day when you feel like they're a little bit more stable and ready to work on that task. So the point is, just like swimming is a skill, it takes kids time to learn the skill of picking up after themselves. So now I gotta say, I know it's a lot of work, and I know it can get plenty discouraging, but if you stick with it, you will start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Your kid will start doing some of these tasks all on their own. As you teach them and let them practice more and more, their capacity does grow, and things start to shift into your child actually being more helpful than not. In my experience, it takes years, I'm just gonna say that, but it is so worth it. So build these skills or habits into your daily and weekly routine. Model the behavior you want to see from your kids. Instead of lecturing, figure out a way to let natural consequences do the teaching whenever possible. Be smart instead of reactive, and just think through a good system. And if all else fails, start getting rid of some of the stuff, and the messes will get a little bit more manageable. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.